How's it going, retro people? My name is Brad, this is Retro Style Spotlight, and this is your news, notes, history, and retro games to play for the week of January 24th, 2017. Last week's tutorial was all about the newly added startup videos for Big Box. When I say newly added, I mean Jason added in 2 nights before for the beta, and that day for the official release. What this allows you to do is set up any video you want to have play before Big Box launches with a max of around 30 seconds. If that sounds interesting to you, check out how to do it in the tutorial below. In ROM hacking and translation news, today there are 2 interesting games up for consumption. One being an odd mashup ROM hack and the other being a retranslation of a very quirky Japanese RPG, but not a JRPG specifically. That started a game series you might be more familiar with now. First up is a ROM hack based on Mega Man 3 for the NES entitled Linkman, created by Megafield64. It is and isn't what it sounds like. You might be thinking that Mega Man has just been simply replaced with Link, but in fact the entire game got a makeover. Graphics have been changed to elements of the Legend of Zelda series, a new story has been created, levels with some redesigned elements, and weapon energy consumption. This hack also includes a full-colored manual inspired by those found in that NES era. So fundamentally, the game hasn't actually changed a whole hell of a lot. Mega Man 3 is still the base. However, if you love Mega Man and Zelda, this is still a fairly cool mashup, and it's interesting to see. Second up is the retranslation efforts for the Famicom game Sweet Home, retranslated by JMN and The Siege. Originally developed by Capcom and the inspiration for the survival horror genre as a whole and the inspiration for the Resident Evil series, this game is a sight to behold, quite honestly. What makes it interesting is that the game places a greater emphasis on puzzle solving than fighting, which makes for an interesting change of pace. Actually, you are far more likely to die in the game itself than in a battle. Wandering around is what you'd expect in any NES RPG, overhead, tile-based movement. You use a variety of items to solve puzzles in this environment, while randomly encountering enemies. The English script has been redone to be much more faithful to the original script and is now much more presentable to boot. If you want to play a horror RPG on the NES with some good puzzle elements, then check out this retranslation as well as the ROM hack in the links below. So a lot has come out about how bullish Nintendo was in the 80s and 90s. To their credit, they pioneered and made some of the best games of all time. But this story really emphasizes how the old guard of Nintendo really ran things. Part old school Japanese honor-based tradition, part ruthless businessman. So Polygon recently did the Final Fantasy VII, an oral history written by Matt Leone. Leon? The entire investigative piece is actually extremely interesting, but I want to focus on a bit of this piece that made me actually shake my head in a little bit of disbelief. Now granted, take this with a grain of salt. This information came from several higher-ups related to Final Fantasy VII at the time, and all tell a slightly different version of the story. For those that don't know, Final Fantasy VII was originally meant to be on the Nintendo 64, just like the last 6 games were on the NES and SNES. Square eventually went with Sony because of their disc-based media, being able to fit much more of their game on a single disc than they could on a single cartridge, and at a cheaper cost. Nintendo and Square wouldn't work with one another again until the Game Boy Advanced, and stories regarding the fallout between the two companies have circulated for years, with Square president Naoya Suzuki publicly shouldering the blame at one point in time. The following are several quotes from the higher-ups at that time. Hiroshi Kawai, character programmer, Square Japan. I'll say this, I'm impressed with what Nintendo was able to do with the 64 hardware. Mario, Zelda, their devs must be top-notch to be able to do that. But that's essentially the extent of what you can do with the hardware, and you would get nowhere near anything like a Final Fantasy running on it. Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of Final Fantasy. When we made our decision, the president of Square, Masafumi Miyamoto, our lead programmer, Ken Narita, and I went to a meeting with Yamauchi-san, Nintendo president at that time. There is an old cultural tradition where, in Kyoto, someone will welcome you with tea, but you're not supposed to really drink that tea. It's just polite to have it there. And Yamauchi-san welcomed us with a very expensive bento meal and beer, and gave us a very nice welcome, and basically patted us on the back to say, "I wish you the best." No bitter feelings or anything. Hiroshi Kawai. I think Sakaguchi is just trying to be politically correct with that one. Yoshihiro Maruyama, Executive Vice President, Square US. I don't think anyone from Nintendo gave us a hard time. They said, "Oh, we don't need that." That's what they said. Their philosophy has always been that Nintendo hardware is for their games, and if a publisher wants to publish, okay, you can do that. But if you don't like it, we don't want you. Hiroshi Kawai. What I heard was Nintendo said, if you're leaving us, never come back. So clearly, Square wanted to go in a different direction, and either Nintendo was honor-bound either in the respectful sense or in the disrespectful sense that they may have felt. Either way, this event in video game history going the other direction could have drastically changed Square's path, Nintendo's path, and Sony's path all at once, leading down to millions of other changes. The thoughts of what could have been are staggering. Man, I love the thought of the multiple dimensions theory, almost for this reason alone. Now it's time for Retro Remix Song of the Week, and this week is from Remixers Tomo Club from Final Fantasy IX, called Não Está Sozinho, Naoesta with an umlaut and some diuretics in there. And I am most certainly butchering that, but it is based off the song You're Not Alone. This atmospheric and immediate live Latin arrangement is very much an interesting song to listen to, so check it out in the links below. This month, in 2001, Phantasy Star Online was released to the North American market. Phantasy Star Online is an online RPG developed by Sonic Team and published by Sega for the Dreamcast. Unlike previous turn-based games in the Phantasy Star series, Phantasy Star Online features real-time hack-and-slash combat. The game was first released in Japan in December of 2000 and worldwide in early 2001. The game was a critical and commercial success and was followed by 3 expanded versions: Phantasy Star Online version 2 in 2001, Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2 in 2002, and Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst in 2004. A spin-off game featuring turn-based combat, Phantasy Star Online Episode 3 Card Revolution, was released for the GameCube in 2003. A direct sequel, Phantasy Star Online 2, was released in Japan in 2012. Hiroshi Matsuyama, president of CyberConnect 2 and developer of the .hack series, cited Phantasy Star Online as an influence for the MMORPG world of .hack. All versions of the original Phantasy Star Online were released on consoles, except for the final release, Blue Burst, which is available for Windows and allows you to play in an offline online setting. The game still retains a cult following even after its subsequent server shutdowns and has a variety of private servers available to this day for various consoles. Most notably, Blue Burst can still be found online and has notable private servers still receiving fan updates to this day. If you are a patron that pledged to be a part of our Patreon campaign and are watching this early, then thank you very much. For those of you who pledged at the producer level role, your names are now on screen. If you are interested in seeing your name as a part of a Retro Style Spotlight, the tutorials, and have it be inside of the Launchbox app, then head on over to our Patreon link in the description below. At just $2 a month, you can see content like RSS early, and at higher tiers, you start to unlock things like exclusive Discord server access, producer credits, and a personal hangout with the Launchbox team. Any dollar amount anyone pledges to our campaign is helping us create a better product, and we couldn't be more appreciative. So that was Retro Style Spotlight for the week of January 24th, 2017. All of the relevant links to everything you heard in this edition of RSS will be in the description below. Remember, you can sign up for a Launchbox forum account, and if Launchbox has given you a beautiful library of games, then why not purchase a premium license of Launchbox for $20 to access Big Box, which is a controller and couch-oriented version of Launchbox. The Launchbox Games database is available for any user to contribute to as well. Jason, Crescent, and I, along with the rest of the team, have a lot planned for our community, so if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, we're doing a tutorial video every Friday, live developer sessions, Launchbox news, Q&As, and a ton more content in the future. Let us know what you think of RSS and any feedback you may have on it in the comments below. My name is Brad, the link to my channel is also below, and remember, freaks and geeks, to play more games, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day!